So why does this tool represent such an iconic symbol of the Stone Age? These teardrop-shaped rocks are known as hand axes. These iconic tools were made 1.7 million years ago to only 100,000 years ago. In other words, humans have been using this technology longer than any other invention known today. Our hominin ancestors such as Homo erectus, the Neanderthals, and Heidelbergensis made hand axes before our own species. These tools were commonly made in the lower Paleolithic. This fantastic stone industry came to an end and was replaced by the levallois technique that was used by Neanderthals. Paleolithic hand axes were primarily made in Europe, Africa, and Western Asia. Meanwhile, in East and Southeast Asia, hand axes were not common. Instead, choppers were used, similar to African Oldowan choppers. This is separated by a line known as the Mobius line. The credit of this invention goes to Homo erectus. Our own species, Homo sapiens, are not known to have used the hand axe, except for a few notable hunter-gatherer cultures in Australia. These hand axes from Queensland, Australia were made more relatively recently, in the late Holocene. These examples were made after 5,000 years before present time. These hand axes in Australia were typically made from chert and quartzite, just like anywhere else. In Australia, women would use these tools for shaping digging sticks and chopping out roots when harvesting yams and tubers. These were also used to trim wood and shaping wooden throwing clubs. This is a rare photo of an Australian indigenous man showing how to make a hand axe. Hand axes were typically made by the method of hard hammer percussion. In the next several minutes, you get to watch me make a Paleolithic hand axe. Ooh, I'm scared of that. That's scary. Ooh. It's looking good. I'm in danger though. Really deep fracture right here, man. Alright, so check it out. That big, scary fracture that I had. This isn't really necessary to show, but I'm just going to share with you guys my experience. This isn't really a video to teach you how to do it, but necessarily showcasing how these tools may have been made, which was using probably a rock, because it was during the early Stone Age period. Anyways, I got rid of that scary fracture off by coming in, hitting it at a perfect angle. I got most of this ugly bump fracture off. There's definitely a lot of critical thinking and problem solving involved in this process. I mean, especially if you want to make a symmetrical one. There are a lot of examples in history. A lot of these were symmetrical, and a lot of that required abstract thinking and critical thinking in itself. So these hominins were more advanced than was once thought. Anyways, I'm going to continue chipping. Yes! Woo! I did it, boy. There's that nasty bump. Popped off that piece. It is no longer with us. Oh, yes, sir. Just where I wanted to hit. There you go. So here's what it looks like. There you go. Hand comparison. It's got some pretty jaggedy, sharp edges, which this is used for, and I'll get into like its significance and why these were made. Usually, most crafters, they'd leave the cortex of the original rock on the bottom. That way you can grip it better without having to worry about cutting your hand up or anything like that. Just going to dull it and keep the sharp edges up here in the front where it will be used. Wow. Oh my gosh. Look at that. Holy moly. That was awesome. That's a whole freaking knife, dude. Yes, sir. Also, I was in the middle of a way of chipping my second one, and I have cut myself pretty bad. That's just to demonstrate, well, it was an accident. But these flakes are no joke. They can penetrate skin pretty easily. So just be careful out there if you're ever napping yourself. Here's my second piece. So why did these hominins from all across the world make these tools? There is no evidence to support that these hand axes were ever hafted onto a stick. Instead, these hand axes show that they fit very perfectly in one's hands. Hand axes have been tested and have shown they are very efficient in cutting and butchering meat. They can also be used for digging soil and cutting wood. Other uses can be for self-defense or possibly even throwing. There is one strange thing to note about most of these hand axes. They show very little wear use. Archaeologists suggest a theory known as the sexy hand axe theory, which argues that hominins would show off their flintknapping skills to attract a female mate, much like a male bird with brightly colored feathers. Archaeologists argue that the ability to manufacture these tools was a big cognitive leap for human evolution. In making one, they must have had symbolic and complex cognitive thinking. A magnificent example of this comes from a flint Acheulean hand axe that was found in West Tofts, England. A hominin napped this 500,000 years ago. Suspect is more than likely Homo erectus or Homo heidelbergensis. As you can see here, 500,000 years ago, this ancient individual napped around this shell fossil. Here's another amazing example of a hand axe with a fossil. This is perhaps the coolest and earliest example of artistic expression. These two hand axes display evidence for symbolic thinking in early hominins. The last example of abstract thinking that correlates with hand axes comes from Atapuerca, Spain. A pink-colored quartzite hand axe was found in association buried with a hominin. The hand axe is skillfully crafted and is dated to 350,000 years old during the time of Homo heidelbergensis, in which they have found remains at this site. The pit of bones was found with only one man-made item, and that was this hand axe. The archaeologists that excavated this site suggest that the color of this hand axe was of something special, and therefore, dare I say, a ritual act. Regardless, ritual or not, these things came in all different shapes and sizes, and displayed different uses and importance in our human evolution. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks.